Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakahakodas, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone who rule well and taught me this truth. Peace, blessings, salutations, and mercies to like the 1/3 remnant out there listening and doing this word. With all faith and sincerity, scattered amongst the nations and the four corners of the earth, to you I say shalom. Lord willing, this video is edifying. It's going to be sitting around the topic of the small hats and their contribution to the plight of Jake, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, because, in the mainstream media, this doesn't get a lot of attention. Matter of fact, just to even find, an unbiased opinion on this, still like it is pretty hard. It's pretty tough. Okay, but, you kind of got to take the meat and spit out the bones when it comes to this information. And I'm going to do my best to try to not use certain code words or not use certain buzzwords to trigger an algorithm and get this video struck. Because we know anything you say about those, the little hats, they trigger a response, okay? Because we understand that they are indeed the rulers of this current civilization, right? It's no secret. Or it's the biggest open secret, right? So this is ChatGPT, and the name of the book that is sourcing the information from is The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Small Hats, okay? And just get a few details in it to go into, because these people had a major role in what happened to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And we know that they are indeed the head tribe of Esau, right? They carry the biggest stick, right, when it comes to the tribes of Esau, and all the tribes of Esau follow after him for a reason. Okay. The book argues that small hat merchants and financiers played a major role in the Atlantic slave trade, right? And we know this. Small hat communities were disproportionately involved in slave ownership in parts of the Americas. Small hat businessmen benefited economically from slavery-related industries such as cotton, textiles, shipping, and banking, right? All makes sense, right? Because, these people still, to this day, kill these profit margins, man. And when you look at who extorts so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans the most, you could definitely make the case that these small hats are, head and shoulders above the rest of the nations when it comes to pillaging our people. And they have a history of doing this, man. When you look into the history of Amalek, right, the traits that they're known to have, that's what they are, best at. Okay. That's what they're best at. Okay. And it's a reason why the Lord said the things in which he said towards this people. Okay. and we gonna get those scriptures. Black and small hat political alliances in the United States conceal this history, right? Because we know those small hats are very tricky, very sneaky. Okay, and what does the scripture say? Never trust thine enemy. Okay, because he will seek to take thy seat, right? And that's exactly, matter of fact, we're gonna get it. That's exactly what this devil has done, right? He's deceived Jake into thinking that we are indeed allies, okay? That we are the same. We are both oppressed people when he's not oppressed at all. Matter of fact, he's the oppressor, but he plays his victim role, right? As if he's made no contribution to what's happened to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay? When that's the furthest thing from the truth. This is Sirach 12 and 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that the rust, or that his rust, has not altogether been wiped away, right? So he's a deceiver. Okay, he'll play the role well up until the time where it's time to show his true colors. Then you see that you were in bed with a snake the whole time, man. Turns around and bites you. Okay, just like he's done so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, because here it is, he claims that we're on the same team and he's always had our back and all this shit. Well, when it was time to vote for reparations for so-called Negroes who were victims of the transatlantic slave trade, he was one of the three nations, right? And all three of these nations that voted no, Argentina, the United States, and Israel, all three of them are small hat led places, right? Heavily influenced by the small hats. One is a small hat, right? So that lets you know how he really feels. Okay. Set him not by thee, least when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. And that's exactly what's happened to Jake, man. We have set this nigga right by us. Okay. When you look at those marches in the 60s and, the civil rights movement, Slovakia, and all that, he was right there. Okay, on the side of Jake, leading them into destruction, leading them into perdition. Okay. Further deceiving our people and destroying our people. Okay. Historical scholarship minimized or ignored Jewish Slovakia. Historical scholarship minimized or ignored small hat participation in slavery. The book discusses transatlantic slave trade, slave markets in the Caribbean and Americas, small hat merchants in Portugal, the Netherlands, Brazil, the Caribbean, the American South, plantation ownership, financing, and insurance connected to slave commerce, relations between Black Americans and small hats in the 19th and 20th century. The book uses evidence. The authors rely heavily on shipping records, merchant records, quotations from small hat historians, synagogue community documents, economic records from colonial trade. So the proof is there. Numbers don't lie. Okay, follow the money. And all fingers point back to those small hats, and this is why the Lord, he of all the nations, Esau is the most hated, and of all the tribes of Esau, there is none worse than Amalek. Okay, this is Exodus 17 and 16. For he said, because Yahweh Shema Shah hath sworn that Yahweh Shema Shah will have war with Amalek from generation to generation, because of all the evil deeds in which Amalek has, attempted against us. Okay. All the way since the beginning. All right. During the time of Agag. Okay. During the time of the Romans. All right. During the time of the Babylonians. Right. They have always been plotting against Jake. Okay. They've always embraced that hatred of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. None more, okay, than Amalek. All these nations, of course, are confederate against us, but Amalek, he is chief among them. Okay, this is Psalms 83 and 5. For they have consulted together with one consent; they are confederate against the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Jabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Right. So it mentions Edom, right? The tabernacles of Edom. Right. So all of Edom. But then it specifically mentions Amalek, okay? Because Amalek is more worse than all his brothers. That's why when you look into their history, they kept separate from Esau, or the bulk of Esau, because even amongst right, Amalek has a reputation for being shiesty. Okay, and you look at it today, and what's changed, right? The same sentiment is there. So it's easy to point out these people, man. Okay, so when people sit up here and say, oh, how do you know that the self-proclaimed white man is the devil? Or how do you know that, these people are who you saying they are? It's all through the spirit. You can look, you got the eye salve, right? To where you can see things through the spirit. The Lord opened up your spiritual mind, right? You can see it. Okay. Assure also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Right. So all these nations are confederate against us. They've all played a part. Okay. But none more than Amalek. Okay. This is Deuteronomy 25 and 19. Therefore it shall be, when Yahweh Shema Shah, thy power hath given rest, or have given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which Yahweh Shema Shah, thy power giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven, thou shalt not forget it. Right. So when does this happen? Right. If those people over there in the land, okay, those small hats over there in the land, if they're the people, where is the memorial for Amalek? Okay. When did this event take place, when all of Amalek and Esau, Edom were blotted out from under heaven? Where did this happen? Okay. It hasn't. So that goes to tell you that this man is still dwelling amongst the earth. Okay. Dwelling amongst the people. Okay. So that means that that judgment has yet to be issued. And that means that the people in the land right now are not those people in which who are supposed to be there. Okay, that's why the world is so bent out of shape. All right. That's why everything is so fucked up, because the true rulers are not ruling. Okay. You got those imposters over there who are really hated of the Lord, proclaiming to be the children of the Lord. Okay, but the Lord's going to fix that. Okay. Here it is. They've done the most to offend the Lord, including the ongoing attempt to exterminate the Lord's chosen. But yet they got the nerve to try to put on that title, which is crazy. This is Revelations 3:9. Behold, I will make them the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Right. So before this great judgment is going to happen, all of these nations are going to worship before our feet. Okay. They're all going to see that we are indeed the children of the Most High. And they're all going to be in fear, and they're all going to be frightened, and they're all going to be surprised. They're going to be in disbelief. Like, wow, right? How could it be these men who we accounted as nothing, this nation of people in which have been so insignificant? How are they the ones to rule now? Okay. And they're going to accept it. Okay. And they're going to obey and be put into subjection. But Esau, Edom, okay, the self-proclaimed white man, he is going to be exterminated. All right. For his atrocities in which he's committed. Okay. And Amalek is at the forefront of that. All right. So with that, I give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Al Shabbat, Shem, Kakudashwa, Abba, Abba, and DTA, DTN.